is the news and talk of Texas. Now, it's the Rick Roberts Show on 820 AM, 99.5 FM, HD2, News Talk 820, WBAP.
Well, I know there's got to be a few 100 million more like me, just trying to keep it free. Yeah.
Rick Roberts starts right now.
Seriously, I don't understand. I don't think anybody understands what motivates him other than personal grievance, other than seeking adulation. You know, I said during the campaign, there was no other Donald Trump. What you saw was what you were going to get. And I think a lot of Americans understandably thought, oh, no, come on, that can't possibly be the case. You know, once he's in the office, he will certainly moderate his behavior. Well, we've seen.
All right, 3:06 the time. Glad you're along. 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. He's been a friend for, I don't know, 2 decades, long time. Curtis Ellis. We used to hammer a lot of things. I tell you, I get a piece from him about once a week. And this piece, I almost read it verbatim on the air. But I thought, he wrote it. He ought to tell you about it. Try again, the hashtag resistance and impeachment. And it begins, we're now into the second collusion story, the second, and at least the second attempt at impeachment, now featuring a second whistleblower and counting. With us is Curtis Ellis with the America First policies. Curtis, how you doing, buddy?
Great. I feel like I've been to this movie before, and I don't mean your show.
Man, great. First of all, just a public pat on the back. This is a great piece. Great piece.
I thank you.
You say the hashtag resistance, if it had a motto, it'd have to be, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And that's true, right?
Yeah, really. These people never give up. They never stop. They're like zombies. You can't kill them. They're like zombies. They don't have brains. That's why they eat them. But look, they started from the day President Trump was elected. They said we're going to impeach him. And you go back and you look at the record. As a matter of fact, there's a Washington Post editorial on the day he was inaugurated, or I can't remember now, it was the day he was inaugurated or it was the day after he was elected, and it said, the campaign to impeach Donald Trump begins now. But first, after he was elected, they said, oh my gosh, let's have a recount in Michigan. That'll make sure he doesn't.
People don't remember that. They don't recall that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, so they recounted the votes in Michigan, and what they found was that there were more votes counted in Detroit, a Democratic area, it went 95% for Hillary Clinton. There were more votes counted in Detroit than there are registered voters, right? So they, let's forget about that. Then they tried to convince the Electoral College members to vote for Hillary instead of Trump, and that went nowhere. So then they laid this trap, this whole Russia collusion hoax. It was called, the FBI operation was called Crossfire Hurricane, after the Jumpin' Jack Flash, after the Rolling Stones song Jumpin' Jack Flash, where the line in the song is, I was born in a crossfire hurricane. So they wanted to make sure that this presidency was born in a crossfire hurricane. And they set him up. They did classic FBI sting operation, sent these weirdo agents posing as professors and posing as Mr. Magoo, I don't know what, to say, we hear that the Trump campaign is privy to information about the Russians having emails on Hillary Clinton, and then they report it to the FBI as if the Trump campaign did it. You know, it's just crazy. So that became the first Russia collusion story, and that went nowhere. That they got Mueller into the special counsel thing. Right. We spent tens of millions of dollars. I don't know if it's 20 million, 40 million, whatever, more money than I'll ever see in my lifetime. And they came up with nothing. It came up completely a dry hole. It was, but they promised a gusher every day. It's imminent. He's going to be impeached any moment now. So when that failed, it did not take them 60 days before they come up with this Ukraine illusion, Ukraine collusion illusion. Now, the important thing to remember, everybody, is what this is really about. There's a couple of levels to this, but to keep it simple is the Ukraine, the phone call that President Trump had, you read the transcript, and what he's doing is he's asking them to please work with Attorney General Barr, who is looking into the origins of the Russia hoax from 2016.
Yeah, I read the transcript live on the air, the whole thing.
Oh, good. That's a public service because you see what the Democrats did. They said, okay, we learned from our mistakes the first time around with the Russia collusion. We're not going to make those same mistakes again. So on the Ukraine illusion, season 2 of celebrity impeachment, or whatever you want to call it, season 2, what we're going to do is, we're not going to have a 33-page dossier. Instead, what we're going to do is we'll have like a 9-page complaint. And even better, we're just going to leak little parts of it out to really salt the claim here, to really get people worked up, because they can't read a whole dossier, and they don't even want to read a 9-page complaint. So what we're going to do is we'll just put out phrases like, he made a promise to a foreign leader, quid pro quo, he tried to blackmail and extort, all of which is not there in the transcript. Thank you for reading reading the transcript on air. You listen to it, you read it. None of what they're saying is true, but that's never stopped them. And then another lesson they learned. They hung the first case around this Michael Steele, the Steele dossier, British spy, right? Spy doesn't sound good, right? It's got a bad connotation. So this time, in spies, what do spies do? Spies adopt false identities. Spies go undercover. Spies pretend to be something they're not. So what do they do this time? They took the spy and they made him pretend to be a whistleblower. Right? That's what spies do. They pretend to be something else. Spies lie and pretend to be things they're not. So now we have a spy who's pretending to be a whistleblower. As a result, we never get to see who is making these charges. Well, this whistleblower's identity must be protected. It's by the law, right? I mean, and what do they learn? They learned this from the Chrissy Blasey Ford Kavanaugh debacle. They trot out this head case, Chrissy Blasey Ford, who is the main witness against Kavanaugh, and anybody looking at her, or you listen to her, her story did not hold up. She's afraid to fly, but she's flying all over the world to go surfing or something, and she's a complete weirdo. So what we need to do this time to take out President Trump is we can't let anybody see the witness, because once they look at the witness, they're going to realize this whole thing's phony as the day is long.
And Curtis, a wrench was thrown in the works because they, whoever they are, the deep state, the Democrats / socialists, whomever, they never, ever anticipated him releasing that transcript.
Exactly right.
They figured that they would have a second layer of protection, and then they could make up any number of stories. I tell you what, Curtis, hold that thought right there. 14 minutes after the hour, with America First Policies, Curtis Ellis, a great, great piece. I'll tell you how to take a look at it yourself in just a little bit. We'll continue with this right up until today. This is the whole thing condensed in a nutshell. Is anybody buying it?
On Twitter, follow us at WBAP 24/7 News.
For breaking stories and opinions from all our hosts. WBAP.
19 minutes after the hour, 3:19 the time, talking with Curtis Ellis. He's with America's First Policies. He does. Curtis, is this is it a weekly piece? Is that what it is?
Yes, I do a weekly piece on American greatness. The American Greatness website, amgreatness.com. I do a weekly column there, which comes out every Wednesday, unless there's a traffic jam of news that pushes my piece off. But generally on Wednesday morning it shows up.
Man, you've
I also do a weekly piece on WorldNet Daily, WND.com.
You've been knocking it out of the park. I've been reading them every week. And this one, try again, the hashtag resistance and impeachment. As you said, from day one, the Democrats haven't been working for their constituents. They've been trying to get rid of Trump. Maybe they think it's one and the same. From the recount in Michigan, they thought, aha, we'll get him there. That didn't work out so well. More people voted than are registered. And then it went all the way through. I mean, you had the Stormy Daniels, you had the Russian collusion that wasn't, and then the Ukraine, and they, instead of using spy, because that'd been done to death with the Russian collusion, they just simply went to whistleblower, and I'll let you pick it up from there.
Yeah, and the whistleblower has a huge advantage for the Democrats in that he's secret, or she is secret. We don't know who they are, can't reveal the identity. And the first time around with the Russia collusion, they had Bob Mueller's grand jury. Grand jury proceedings are secret. Well, with the Bob Mueller grand jury, they're sort of secret. They're secret, but then the Democrats, the deep staters, got to leak what they wanted. This time around, they're repeating the act by having this so-called inquiry take place in Adam Schiff's Intelligence Committee, which is everything that happens there behind closed doors is classified, cannot be released, right? It's a breach of security. So, again, they get to have these secret proceedings. They interview the witnesses. We don't get to hear what the witnesses say. We only get the leaks that come out or the selected excerpts of the transcripts that the Democrats choose to put out. So they get to shape the narrative. They get to tell their story, but no one else, the public doesn't get to see. I mean, this, Rick, is the craziest thing ever. You know, well, maybe you don't know, but I know as a guy who drives fast that you can't even get a speeding ticket. You can't get convicted on a speeding ticket unless the officer who shot you with the radar gun shows up in court.
Sure.
You must confront your accuser. That is a bedrock principle. It goes back to the Magna Carta 800 years ago, 1215. The British nobles held the king hostage until he signed the Magna Carta granting rights to the nobility. And one of them was you get to face your accuser. But if you're president, and now that carries over to traffic court today. You can't get a speeding ticket unless you see the cop that pulled you over. And he shows up in court. If he doesn't show up, your speeding ticket's dismissed. I know that. It's happened to me. But the president can't see his accuser, can't cross-examine the witness. We're not allowed to ask any questions about the witness. Oh, no, that's political if you question their motivation. And now, if you question the subpoena, so they're demanding to see all these records from Giuliani and from the mayor and from everybody else. If he dares to challenge those requests, take them to court, challenge the request, which you have a right to do, now that's evidence of obstruction of justice. I mean, this is totally every element of due process that our entire system of law is based on has been trashed by the Democrats in this second collusion rerun. And now that we learn that the first whistleblower worked for, had a relationship with, maybe, made a movie Harvey Weinstein style with a Democratic 2020 candidate, that whistleblower is now useless. And we learned that they met with Adam Schiff. So let's find a second whistleblower. The same way we replaced the first collusion story with another collusion story, now we're going to replace the whistleblower with another. And I'm sorry I'm calling them whistleblowers because actually it's a spy. It's a CIA agent.
The same exact playbill for a one-act play they had with Russia.
Exactly. It is. It's the same plot line, the same playbill. They can't give it up. And I imagine we're going to hear third, fourth, fifth whistleblower come spy, next secret agent. It reminds me of that scene in Matrix Reloaded where there's like all these Agent Smiths come out and they just keep coming out of the woodwork to attack.
Yeah, it's
Neo.
My only concern, and I may ask you to stick around for a second because I want your response to something. My only concern is that the Republicans don't seem to have it in them to call these people out. I'm not talking about going along to get along. Well, if I'm nice to them, they'll be nice to me. That's the same mistake we made in the Middle East in the very beginning. As I look at this, I'm thinking, okay, where are the Republicans standing up and calling these people out? Nobody's doing it except Trump, and Trey Gowdy. But I'd like to see more of him.
You got that right, Rick. You got that right. Somebody needs to get a backbone here.
All right.
More than one somebody.
I'm going to play something for you. All right. And I want your response to it when we come back. Okay. Now, this was something Hillary Clinton said. Now, I think she was being interviewed by NPR or PBS, I don't know, something. Listen to this, and I'll ask for your response after the bottom of the hour. Listen.
It truly is remarkable how obsessed he remains with me, but this latest tweet is, so typical of him. Nothing has been more examined and looked at than my emails. We all know that. So he's either lying or delusional or both. There was no subpoena, as he says in a tweet this morning. So maybe there does need to be a rematch. I mean, obviously, I can beat him again.
You can beat him again where? Oh. The popular vote. I get it. Is it even possible that she would jump in again? We'll get a reply from Curtis Ellis with America First Policies. We'll do that next.
The 2020 election 2020 is happening here.
Who the hell wants to change what we're doing now?
News Talk 820, WBAP.
WBAP.com.
Talking with old friend Curtis Ellis, and man, he has forgotten more in the last 5 minutes than I could put together in a notepad on this. From day one, with the Michigan recount, to Stormy Daniels, to the Russian collusion that wasn't, to the Ukraine collusion that wasn't. I mean, we've gone from spy to whistleblower. Democrats have done, look at it. What are we, 13 months away from the election? They've done nothing since this president was elected except try to get rid of him, so they have nothing to run on, right?
Exactly right. Nancy Pelosi took back the House of Representatives, at the beginning of 2019? They've done nothing. They've done absolutely nothing, and they won't do anything because now, come election year, which is just a couple months away, 2020, nothing ever gets done. That's one of the hard and fast rules in Washington. No legislation gets accomplished in an election year.
Never.
So, never. And they can't wait. Remember, Rick, the first caucus, Iowa caucus. I just came from Iowa. I was in Iowa this morning, as a matter of fact, with Vice President Pence. The Iowa caucus is in January. It's like, 75 days away? 30, 60, 75 days away, something like that. They can't wait that long to get rid of this president. They got to impeach him now.
Okay,
and the whole thing goes back to what Hillary Clinton said.
You gotta give me a second, because those folks that have just joined, radio, those folks that have just joined us. I don't know if you heard this interview or not. It was a long interview, but this pretty much sums it up.
It truly is remarkable how obsessed he remains with me, but this latest tweet is, so typical of him. Nothing has been more examined and looked at than my emails. We all know that. So he's either lying or delusional or both. There was no subpoena, as he says in a tweet this morning. So maybe there does need to be a rematch. I mean, obviously, I can beat him again.
I'm sorry. Your response, I got to have it.
Denial is not just a river in Egypt. She cannot get over the fact that she lost that election, that she's a bad candidate, nobody likes her, and she won the popular vote, but you learn in Civics 101 in grade school that there's this thing called the Electoral College. And she just can't. And that's the whole thing with this impeachment as well. They just can't get over the fact that Hillary Clinton, given 98.99% certainty of winning the election, oops, blew it.
Yeah, let me ask you this. And Hillary Clinton, professional politician, aside from the Rose Law Firm, maybe another odd job here or there, has always been a politician, always. But
always.
She has turned into crazy Uncle Harry you only see once a year at the family reunion, and nobody wants to sit with him. I mean, that's how the Democrats feel.
Yeah. I tell you, if she got in the race and tried to run, she'd end up like all of these witnesses against the Clintons, and it would be who done it? Which one of the other Democrats took out Hillary? They want her to go away. They know that she's a loser. She can't win. I tell you, as a Trump supporter, I hope she runs. I hope she gets the nomination. That would be so much fun to watch.
You know, I thought about this last night after I heard that initial soundbite. You know, in those quiet times, I'm sitting there on the couch petting the dog, and I feel a smile come across my face when I start thinking about, you know, if I could just get up in the morning and the Democrats announce Hillary Clinton will be running in 2020. It just would make my day.
Yeah, and it shows, again, the depth of double talk and hypocrisy. The Democrats all believe the election was stolen from Hillary Clinton. Well, then why don't they want her to run again? Right? They're trying to believe two opposite things at the same time. She deserves to be president, but please, please, please go away. We know you're a horrible candidate. She's a horrible candidate. Please go away. But she actually won, and she deserves to be president. You can't have it both ways. You can't.
Yeah, I saw a cartoon. If the Democrats don't believe this president is legitimate, if he's not really the president, then who the hell are they trying to impeach?
Yeah, there you go.
I mean,
they believe all kinds of incoherent things. That's
my
the
question,
problem.
my question, because you deal with this 24/7, how much of this Russia collusion part 2 with the Ukraine, how much of this is going to stick with the American people?
Well, I think people are going to be very, very unhappy with this whole thing as it continues to fall apart. And what we're waiting for is the other shoe to drop. Because what this impeachment is all about, this latest Ukraine collusion, it's about distracting from the report that's about to come out from the Justice Department. Attorney General Barr and the Inspector General over at the Justice Department are looking into all the shenanigans that happened with the CIA and the FBI and the Peter Strzok's and the Lisa Pages, all these weirdos who framed up the president and created this whole Russia collusion ghost story that's haunted the country for so long. The whole thing was a setup. Trust me, it was a setup. The same way the FBI would find a couple of I think I can say this, mentally deficient people. They did this up in Newburgh, New York. They found these people who were emotionally disturbed and really not playing with a full deck. And the FBI sent in an informer who said, hey, you know what? I can give you some explosives, and, you know, you can be a big hero terrorist by blowing up the George Washington Bridge. And these guys said, oh, yeah, that sounds like a pretty good idea. Go ahead. And then they arrested these guys for being terrorists, for plotting to blow up the George Washington Bridge when the whole thing was set up by some FBI double agent spy informant. And that's what they did with President Trump, with candidate Trump. They sent in some informant, said, hey, I got some information that the Russians have some dirt. And then they tell that to a campaign aide, and then the campaign aide is in a bar, has a few drinks, and he tells somebody else, you know, I heard that the Russians have some dirt on Hillary Clinton, and then that guy goes and tells the FBI, hey, the Russians are colluding with the Trump campaign. I heard this, very disturbing, and then we're off to the races.
You know, let me ask you one thing, because this has always bothered me a little bit, and I know our time is short, but, you know, FISA warrants aren't supposed to be taken lightly. I mean, this gives you the ability to spy on your fellow American. You know, they do this based on a dossier that was paid for by opposition research in the Clinton campaign, and it's not vetted. They didn't know if it was true or not. As a matter of fact, they had more reason to believe it was not true than it was. And then they go to a judge, a FISA warrant judge, get these FISA warrants. Is anybody going to be held accountable for that? Those judges have got to be beside themselves.
I would hope, and one of the FISA judges recused himself because it turns out he had some type of social relationship. I don't mean romantic. He had some type of social relationship or something with one of the agents filing the. There's a lot of fishy stuff. So you get right to the point, Rick. There are a lot of questions and a lot of dodgy practices that are going to come out in this report by the Inspector General and by Bill Barr, the Attorney General. And what the Democrats want to do is distract from that. So when we say investigate the 2016 funny business, they say, oh, no, it's interference in the 2020 election.
Exactly. Bottom line, and then we got to go, I guess. Who's the nominee for the Democrats?
I hope it's Hillary Clinton. It looks like Elizabeth Warren at this point, but you know what's going to happen? I think we're going to get to the convention, and nobody's going to have enough delegates on the first ballot to be nominated, and then there's going to be some backroom deal to figure it all out.
And does Trump pull this out in 2020?
Absolutely. Absolutely. People, by that time, everyone will see what's been going on, which is an attempt to override the will of the people by the deep state. We elected this guy to shake things up. He's doing that. He's shaking things up. And what happens when you shake things up? The established order strikes back. The empire strikes back.
And I believe once he's reelected, the Democrat Party, as we have known it historically, will no longer exist.
Amen and hallelujah.
Curtis Ellis, tell people how to get in touch with you and take a look at this piece. It's a great piece.
You can find my piece on American Greatness. Go to amgreatness.com. You can find me over at America First Policies. We have a Twitter handle there, America First POL. And you can get a hold of me by emailing me there, info@americafirstpolicies.org.
Curtis, it's always a pleasure. We never have enough time, it seems. Listen, we'll do this again soon, I promise.
All right. Anytime, Rick. You are my favorite.
All right.
You're the best.
Curtis Ellis, we appreciate it. And this piece is it's great. It really is great. And it's a good way to condense this down for your hair on fire, teeth gnashing, knuckle dragging Democrat friends. Get them to read it. Read it to them. With subtitles if you need to. Try again the hashtag resistance and impeachment.